Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and start with our progress check. So please go ahead and complete that on Canvas. Your CFA on multiplying and dividing exponents is on Tuesday. So checking your homework, this is the back side of 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, All right, today we're going to talk about zero and negative exponents. So anything raised to the zero power, so if you have any base raised to an exponent of 0, your answer is going to be 1. So 107 to the 0 power is 1. K to the 0 power is 1. So anything with an exponent of 0 is 1. So this becomes really, really nice when you have long problems on the test. It may be really, really long, but if everything's raised to an exponent of 0, the answer is just 1. Negative exponents. So negative exponents are all about the place that the number is currently. If a base has a negative exponent, it means that that base needs to be shifted to the inverse of where it is now. So if it's in the numerator and it has a negative exponent, you need to move the base and the exponent to the denominator, and then the exponent will become positive. If the base is in the denominator and has a negative exponent, you need to move it to the numerator and it will have a positive exponent at that point. The saying we typically go with is if you live in a 2-story house and you are unhappy downstairs, well, you need to go upstairs to be happy. If you are unhappy upstairs, you need to go downstairs to be happy. So the opposite of where you are. So currently we have x minus 3 divided by x to the negative 3 divided by x to the power 4. Now we can do this with our division rules and just go ahead and say negative 3 minus 4 is x to the negative 7, which will end up in the denominator. But to get rid of the negative exponent, I'm going to push that x to the negative 3 to the denominator. Then in the denominator, I have x to the power of 3 times x to the power of 4. When we're multiplying and we have the same base, we're going to add the exponents. So this becomes 1 over x to the 7th. Here we have a whole bunch of negatives. So I have r minus 5, or r to the negative 5 over divided by r to the 3rd. Same basis, we're going to subtract the exponents, so that becomes r to the negative 8. When you subtract them, it automatically moves to the numerator, so then I'd have to end up sending it back down to the denominator. And then s negative 2 minus negative 3 will end up being a positive 1, so this is just going to be s divided by r to the 8th. Switch so that you can see how I'm writing for this. So we have 5 to the 0 power. As I said, anything to the 0 power is just going to be 1. So that's 1. We have b divided by c, all raised to the 0 power. So that is also just 1. Anything raised to the 0 power will be 1 no matter what. Okay, so now we're going to deal with some, that's too bright, some negative exponents. So I see x divided by x to the negative 4. So you're going to start with your division rules. You always want to finish the division rules out first before you deal with the negatives. So I'm going to do x divided by x to the 4th. Well, when you do the division rules, same base, you're subtracting. So x to the 1st minus negative 4. Well, 1 minus negative 4 becomes positive, so this becomes x to the 5th. When you deal with your division rules and you subtract, that automatically moves that number up to the numerator because it's always numerator minus denominator. So here we have 5 squared divided by 5 to the negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and do my division rules first. So that automatically moves the 5 to the numerator. 2 minus negative 3, well, this becomes 2 plus 3, so this is 5 to the 5th, which is 3,125 if you plug it in the calculator. Here we have m to the negative 3 divided by m to the negative 7th. Again, we're going to deal with the division first. So negative 3 minus negative 7. Well, negative 3 plus 7 is going to become 4. So this is just m to the 4th. Again, we're going to keep moving along. So I'm going to deal with my division rules first. So y, same base. So I'm going to subtract the exponents. So we have negative 7y to the negative 7th. Minus 5. Well, negative 7 minus 5 is y to the negative 12th. As I've said before, when you have division and you're subtracting the exponents, that automatically moves your base to the numerator. So since I have a negative and my base is in the numerator, I'm going to swap it and send it to the denominator. And when I send it to the denominator, my exponent will become positive. So this is y to the 12th, 1 over y to the 12th. All right, continuing right along. Here, this is what I was talking about earlier. We have a lot going on here, but it's raised to the 0 power, so that automatically becomes 1. That whole numerator cancels out to be 1. So then I have 3 times x to the negative first, b to the third. Okay, well, x has a negative exponent and it's in the denominator. When it's in the denominator and it's negative, we're going to push it to the numerator. So this becomes x, I don't have to write the first power, over 3b cubed. Okay. Our next one, we're going to go ahead and distribute our powers. So this 2 is going to apply to the x to the fourth. Well, when an exponent is raised to an exponent, that means to multiply. So 4 times 2 is 8. So this is x to the 8th. But we're distributing, so the 2 is also going to go to y to the 5th. An exponent raised to an exponent means you're going to multiply the exponents. So 5 times 2 is 10. This is y to the 10th. I'm now going to do the same thing with the denominator. I'm going to distribute that negative 2. So I get x to the exponent of negative 2 and y to the exponent of negative 2. We're going to deal with our division rules first. So same base, we're going to subtract the exponents. 8 minus a negative 2, well, that's really like 8 plus 2. So this becomes x to the power of 10. And remember, division rules, it automatically sends us up to the numerator. 10 minus a negative 2 is 12, y to the 12th. So x to the 10th, y to the 12th, that is our answer. So we've got a couple of things going on. First off, I can see h to the power of 0. Well, that just automatically cancels out and becomes 1. And then I have g to the 5th divided by g to the negative 3rd. I'm going to go ahead and subtract my exponents. 5 minus negative 3. When you subtract your exponents, it automatically moves to the numerator. So this is g to the 5 plus 3. So this is just g to the 8th. Next one, we're going to have to distribute our exponent that is applied to everything in the parentheses. So we have 5 to the power of 3 times we have b to the negative 1 raised to the power of 3. Then we have c raised to the power of 3. All over, well, I have an exponent raised to an exponent, so we multiply them. 2 times 5 is 10, so this is c to the 10th. I'm going to go ahead and move my work up here just so I have a little bit more space to work with. So 5 cubed is 125. Okay, then we have b, an exponent raised to another exponent. So negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. B to the negative 3rd. And this has an exponent of 1. 3 times 1 is c, 1. Or 3 times 1 is 3, excuse me. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead and deal with our division. So with our division, I have c to the power of 3 divided by c to the power of 10. Subtract our exponents. 3 minus 10 is negative 7. Remember, when you do dividing, we bring everything up to the numerator. Well, now I can see that both of my bases have negative exponents. They're in the numerator. I'm going to send them down to the denominator. So this is now 125 divided by b cubed, c to the 7th. That would be my answer. There's another really nice one we have for us. Everything is raised to the exponent of 0. The answer is just 1. I didn't have to do any work there. All right, I'm going to distribute our power to a power. An exponent raised to another exponent, we're going to multiply them. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then we have 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So I'm going to rewrite the whole problem. A to the negative 4th, b to the negative 2, and this becomes a to the negative 2, b to the negative 4th. Again, we're going to deal with division first. So we're going to subtract our exponents. Negative 4 minus negative 2. This becomes a to the negative 2. And then we have negative 2 minus negative 4. Well, that will become b to the power of 2. Now, b has a positive exponent, so it's going to stay in the numerator. However, a has a negative exponent, so I'm going to need to send it down to the denominator. So this is going to be b squared divided by a squared. All right, last two, and then we'll be moving on. We're going to distribute our exponent of 2 first. Well, we're going to do 4 squared. Well, that becomes 16. This x currently has an exponent of 1, so that 2 times 1 is going to be 2. The y also has an exponent of 1, so 1 times 2 is still 2. And then we're going to keep our z to the negative 3 and keep everything else that is in the denominator. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same basis and subtract our exponents. X has a power of 2 minus negative 3. This will become 16x to the 5th. Y has a power of 2 minus 4. This will become y to the negative 2. Z has a power of negative 3 minus 5. This will become z to the negative 8th. Anything that has a negative exponent needs to move locations. Everything when we do our division rules moves to the numerator, so I'm going to send these down to the denominator. I'm going to keep the ones that have positive exponents and our coefficient in the numerator, and this becomes 16x to the 5th y squared z to the 8th divided by y squared z to the 8th. All right, last one, we're going to distribute this exponent of negative 2. So I'm going to keep my negative 3 in parentheses because it started in parentheses. So I have negative 3 to the power of negative 2. A is getting an exponent of negative 2 because I'm distributing it out. B, an exponent raised to an exponent. Well, this has a power of negative 4, so I'm going to multiply by negative 2. This is going to become negative 8 divided by a to the negative 5th, b to the 5th. Okay, normally I would go ahead and deal with the coefficients, but because I have a negative exponent, I'm going to wait until I move it to the correct location. So we're just going to keep this as negative 3 to the power of negative 2 for now, and we're going to do our division rules. Division rules means same base, you're subtracting the exponents. Negative 2 minus negative 5 will actually become a positive 3. So now we have negative 3 to the power of negative 2, a to the positive 3. Then we have negative 8 minus 5, so this is going to become b to the negative 13th. Again, when you do the division rules, it all ends up in the numerator. So anything with a negative exponent, we're going to send down to the denominator. So the a is the only thing that's going to stay there. And we have negative 3 to the power of 2 now. We got a positive exponent. And b to the 13th. Remember, when you change location, you're going to make those exponents positive. Now that it is in the denominator and I have a positive exponent, I can actually multiply this coefficient out. So I'm going to end up with a to the power of 3, 9, because negative 3 squared is 9, b to the 13th. All right, your homework for tonight is homework 3.5. There is a video lesson that goes along with that. Your CFA will be on Tuesday.